Okay. Whew. I just flew in here and boy, are my legs tired. Ray Cotolo, joined by some brighter minds than my own to go through on this special edition of the Harness Players Podcast, special round table, or maybe even more rectangular in nature, discussion for the MGM Borgata Series Finals, consolations, and the Blue Chip Matchmaker Series Finals, and consolations. I'm joined, of course, by my usual co-host, Mr. Mike Pribozie.
I think we might be smarter than you, but not nearly as creative.
I for whatever that's worth, I guess not a lot. You all make more money than me. And speaking of making more money than me, how about the very editor of Daily Racing Forum Harness, a man who signs my paycheck? Well, he doesn't actually sign my paychecks. You have someone else who does that for you because you make so much money that you don't even have. You can pay someone else to do the paying for me, Mr. Derick Giwner.
There's all the money.
Look, he's got it right there.
Some watermelon in the background, I see.
Yes, it's water. Would you like some? I can.
Watermelon and some Old Spice. It's the perfect combination.
You can. I just sent you some watermelons. You should be able to have some of it at any time.
I get right on it.
And I mean, I'd offer Ashley Mailloux some watermelon as well, but I'm sure that she probably has much better things to eat than my watermelon here on the desk, and also is very, very busy doing many other things across not only harness racing but thoroughbred racing.
Yeah, I had a better lunch today. It involved a sandwich and some brews, so I'll pass on the watermelon today. But yeah, just been busy, but looking forward to Monday night's action at Yonkers.
I'm sorry to hear that you got bruised. I hope that it.
No, bruise is in beer, as in alcoholic beverages.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm contractually obligated to not have alcoholic beverages during the show. Otherwise, I think it would be way more fun. We have a lot of races, nonetheless, that are still fun to talk about and go through, and are potentially profitable ventures for all of us. We play our cards right. I understand it's a horse game. There's no cards involved, but metaphors sometimes carry you through. First race to talk about is race 5 on Monday, April 24th, 2023 at Yonkers Raceway. For those wondering, first race post time at Yonkers, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So race 5, bit after that. Time it goes off, honestly, it's anyone's guess. This race specifically, the $75,000 consolation for the Blue Chip Matchmaker. So these are all of the free-for-all pacing mares that didn't have enough points to qualify for the $300,000 final, which goes later on the card. This race gathers 8. And Ashley, from the looks of this race, it seems like a 2-horse race between Delightful Catherine to the inside for the pretty hot Jeff Gillis barn, and then the Tritton's Maybelline, who lands that almost tricky center gate.
Yeah, to me, they are the main two in here. I know at 5-2 on the morning lines, the 3 got the green light, but I thought it was Delightful Catherine, or the 4 Maybelline. In terms of, we'll talk about it a little bit later in terms of pick 5. You don't want to necessarily use, 2 chalks every race, right, in terms of getting that payout. So this is a race where I'm on the fence. Do I use both of them or do I single? I'm kind of more leaning towards potentially singling, and that would be Delightful Catherine. I just think this is one that, if you look at the way she's been drawn earlier in the series, not ideal. When she's drawn better, she's raced very well, especially the last 2 weeks of the series. And again, she gets a great draw in here. You mentioned the barn Ray has been kind of red hot and one to watch. So I think she just has a slight edge over Maybelline.
And you also touched on the pick 5. Great coincidence, maybe even intentional, that all of these stakes races and consolations line 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 for 5 smackaroonies to land inside of that pick 5. It's a 50-cent minimum. We'll talk about that at the end of this discussion. Derick, I know you also fall into this 2-horse race camp. It's really tough to look at some of these other horses unless you're trying to find who might be the factors and value potentially in the exotic spots.
Yeah, I think there are times in a race, where you look at it and you're trying to find some value, and there are times where you have to take what they give you. And I think this is one of those times where You know, on a half-mile track, you can usually try to play the race out and try to figure out the trips. And here it looks like Maybelline's going to the front. Delightful Catherine's going to come away initially second, is going to retake, and it's going to sit 1-4 around the track. And that's the way it's going to end, in my opinion. Are there other horses that, you know, have some ability in here? Yeah, Gia Surreal certainly has some ability. Just hasn't been very good. I kind of like Morning Has Broken a little bit. The last time Yannick drove this horse, you know, the result was pretty good. Finished second. I mean, going to be a big price. I don't know that she's going to finish first or second, but maybe she could finish third in the race. I just look at this as a lineup 1-4 number, and sometimes you have to take those numbers when they give them.
Well, and the difficult piece of it too is that you sometimes have races that seem obvious like that on paper, and there's sometimes one horse that just decides not to follow suit, wants to try and really mess things up. And the thing I find most interesting, Mike, is we've watched Gia Surreal in the free-for-all ranks for much of her career, and in I should say two, in two of the preliminaries in the Blue Chip Matchmaker Series, she went to the lead. This is a horse that can go to a quarter in 25 seconds, and they haven't been using her speed at all. So now they're going for a decent purse. You have to think that she's not going to let an easy lead for anyone go, right?
No, she's drawn inside again, and she has wicked speed off the front, and then she doesn't like to give it up. Then she likes to stay up front when she gets up front, and sometimes she gets brave on the front. I'm not sure that she can get the front in this race for a very long period of time. Maybe she might get away from there early, but eventually somebody's going to come calling, either the 4 or the 1. Delightful Catherine's been fantastic at her last 2 races. Very game on that April 14th race, that last elimination. She just missed, was game to the wire, ended up getting beat by a tripped out Racine Bell, who really, for all the world, didn't look like she was going to get going on the turn, and then finally found a way in the stretch. But I think with her drawing the rail, she has to be 1-2 early. Even if just Surreal goes, she's going to be up close. She's going to make an early move. Maybelline, she's 0 for 5 this year, but has been right there, sitting on a win. This is probably a better spot for her. But she's had a couple garden trips in the series and hasn't been able to deliver. So I'm not sure that I want the short price. I can use her on different tickets, I think, because I like prices later on. I would lean heavily on the 1 in the race.
And the other aspect that Delightful Catherine has to her advantage is the companies she's been against. Her last 2 starts, she was second to Drama Act, 2 starts back. Drama Act won the series final last year, and then last week was second to Racine Bell. Her form stands out. She has the ability to push off the car, and then you look at Maybelline, still losing horses in the final, like Lita Rose, Carmen Sealster, Lucky Artist. At least in my opinion, not the A contingent of contenders in that final, which we'll talk about later. So I'm in agreement, especially on pick 5 purposes when we talk about this later. Delightful Catherine seems like the one to hone on, just because it's down to 2 horses and you're going to be killing any kind of value on any horizontal tickets if you're trying to take both chalks in, especially the opening leg of a sequence like this. Not much else to really touch on in that consolation. Next is the 6th race, being the second of 2 consolations for the MGM Borgata Series. This one is for the horses that didn't have enough points to just be outside of not having enough points to be able to race for $500,000. Instead, they race for $100,000 bingo busters. That's a new word I'm going to try out. We got 8 horses again for another race. This one for the second consolation of the Borgata. And interestingly enough, Derick, this race is compiled with a bunch of horses that left the series, either went to race in overnight races against weaker competition or just have been on the bench. So how do you evaluate trying to figure out these horses if they're ready to go for a race, or if they might benefit from having the time off?
I just kind of look at these horses, you know, as individuals and look back into their past performance lines, maybe a little bit further back, and see kind of where their class lies. I mean, I think often enough, too many people look at the top line and they just think, well, you know, I'm just going to go off of that. And the top line really doesn't tell the whole story most of the time. You need to have longer memories when you do some handicapping. I think this particular race, clearly goes through Jack's Legend. I'm not saying Jack's Legend has to win this race, and he's not my top pick in here, but I think he's the horse you have to beat coming, off a strong effort for a barn that wins a lot of races at this track.
Certainly, Travis Alexander, one of the leading trainers at Yonkers, but I don't know, Ashley. This horse had to leave the series, drop into non-winners of 10,000, won convincingly in that race, but to me, it seems like even though this is the second consolation, it's a big step up in class.
I agree with that. I mean, obviously he wasn't ideally drawn in the series, but you look at his off odds, and partially we've talked about this in the past and other things, right? Yonkers, if you draw towards the outside, it doesn't really matter who you are unless you are, a really, really good horse. You're probably not taking action on the tote board. You're looking at kind of the inside 6 or the inside 4 or 5. I'm not this sounds weird, but I'm just not a fan of Jack's Legend. I don't know what it is. I just maybe have gotten beaten, been scorned by this horse in the past. I mean, he raced very well on the 17th, very well. But you mentioned the class. It was a completely different class than this group, where if you want to look at, some of these horses in the, they were facing Jimmy Freight, American Courage, and they went through the entire series doing so. So I go elsewhere. I do agree, though. A lot is going to depend on Jack's Legend in this race. And I think something will also depend on Splash Brother. And Derick brought up a good point. Like, you can't just look at one race and say, oh, last time he was fabulous. What if he was horrible in his last, previous 4 out of his last 5, where Splash Brother is the sort of horse that I like because he kind of went up in level and he was competitive every week. And they put him in the 5th leg of the series to qualify for this, which is kind of an interesting move. And he didn't race horrible. He didn't race well. And I just think it was an interesting move by the connections, and he has some gate speed.
Certainly. I remember on our podcast last week, Mike kind of had his eyes on Splash Brothers simply because it was the last leg of the series. It was an interesting move to move out of the condition ranks and try and go for points. But I remember thinking that the goal was to get the points to be able to land in this consolation. Nonetheless, Mike, the horse kind of had a bit of a troubled trip, got caught behind a stopped horse, finished 5th, is now in this spot. I have to imagine he's again on your radar here.
He is. You got Mark McDonald driving, so he's one of the best gate drivers that there are that in the entire universe, as far as I'm concerned. He can get one away from there. This horse has showed speed last time, ended up in the pocket, and then lacked room. And he was in the tough, in that tough division with Ideal Some Magic, Fun at the Beach, Backstreet Shadow, basically the 3 top horses in the series. He was set up well in there. He didn't have the best of it. I would imagine he goes forward off the gate here. The horse I'm more interested in, though, is another masterpiece who was basically in a murderer's row most of the series. And if you look, Ideal Some Magic, Backstreet Shadow, American Courage, he was even most of the time. He was getting checks. He's made some money in the series, comes home every week. Well, he has speed. He has the ability to get off the gate, and he could end up 1, 2, 3 early. I think just because his price is 4 to 1 on the morning line doesn't mean he's going to be that. I think he tends to, I would say he's going to be higher on the board. I think he's tremendous value in here, and he's going to have a chance late versus these horses.
I remember in that first preliminary specifically, that was my main angle on this guy, was being able to push off the wings from post 7. Got 19 to 1 on him, but I got 19 to 1 on him because the horse didn't win. But that's okay.
Race well, though.
Sometimes you can race well. You can also lose my money and race well. It's okay. That's part of the game we play here. But after that race, there was almost like a come to God moment where it's, look, we're probably not going to beat American Courage, Backstreet Shadow, Ideal Some Magic. We got to use these races to our advantage. And so they were just collecting little points. And now he's in against a much weaker group, all things considered. I hope that this horse somehow slips through the cracks off the 4 to 1 morning line. I'm worried that the horse is so low on the morning line that maybe that might get some people to focus on him and get some money channeled towards him, because I think that from this outside post especially, he's one of the values to this race. Splash Brother, we all talked about as well. He can fire. He might just go around and around and then finish the race, because if you go around again, that's too long. I also feel Rockin' with Elvis is an interesting horse because he's in a similar situation as another masterpiece, except while he's leaving a much tougher competition. He tends to be one that tries to pick up pieces, and he's always finished with strength. He was second to Lochinvar Hart in the first leg of the series, missed the last leg of the series, so maybe, just maybe, he might be okay off with the week off. He's a 7-year-old. His legs might have been a little crunchy. He probably needed a bit of a little stretchy out, and he might have got it here. So certainly an interesting race that how's Jack's Legend the favorite though? That still kind of boggles my mind. Is he really the favorite in this race?
I think he's 100%.
He's won 900,000. He was 2-5 last time. Now he draws the rail off that win. A lot of money's going to find him.
Well, I think the other thing to note is half the field, they don't have wins in 2023, right? And part of that is maybe because, again, we talk about the horses that participate in the series. One horse we haven't mentioned is American Dealer. He's 0 for 8 on the year, but when you look at him in the second leg of the series, he raced very well when he was put into the race early on. And actually, the way he's drawn, he's a horse that I have interest in here as well, just because I think Joe Bongiorno with Post 2 is probably going to be more aggressive with him in this spot, and might have to be. Not super aggressive because you have Jack's Legend and maybe Splash Brother, but I mean, again, too, when I talk about the recency thing that Derick mentioned, people look at that, right? They're going to say Jack's Legend, got that confidence boosting score last time, draws well, is tactical in this spot potentially. I mean, he's a favorite that I think you either love him or you don't like him at all. I don't think there's any kind of way around that in this race.
For me, Splash Brother, I mean, just looking at the line on paper, you see it, kind of back through the field. It really isn't representative of, his effort. I mean, he just landed up in a bad spot where the leader just got swallowed up by 3 better horses, and, he had no chance of doing anything. I think it was a smart move by Ray Schnicker, putting him in that leg so he can get into this $50,000 race against competition where he should feel very comfortable against. We know he's 95% chance he's going for the front here, and that's what I wonder how another Masterpiece is going to get into this race. I know you're saying that he has speed, but one of the issues at Yonkers that we've noticed with this new slanted starting gate is when the 4 or the 5 leave, it makes it a lot harder on the 7 or the 8 trying to leave, because they're so fast out of the gate and they get that position. Now, of course, another Masterpiece could end up tucking in 3rd or 4th and get the position he needs. But I think this is a really good spot for Splash Brother, though I think Jack's Legend remains the one to beat.
Well, and in that first preliminary specifically, he left, and then he made a real fierce grind first over against much classier horses. And so to me, it seems like even if he doesn't get to the lead, because Splash Brothers certainly can outfoot him to the first turn, he can at least land in a prominent enough spot to be a factor. And he clearly has something in the tank, especially given how easily he's raced these last few preliminaries. I was daydreaming here for a second, because imagining Jack's Legend at 7-5 and him finishing up the track, I was picturing wheelbarrows of money, and all with my name on it. Instead of being wrapped $100,000, $1,000, it says raise money. I'm sorry, I'm getting too excited there. Race 7, certainly an interesting race for the pick 5 too, as well, if you can beat Jack's Legend. Race 7, then we move away from the Borgata consolation. I just noticed I had the typo there, but it's not really a typo if you've ever been up to Yonkers. It's not the Borgata, it's the Borgata Series. We got the Borgata consolation too. Now we're talking about the next one, the Borgata consolation, $100,000 race 7 on Monday at Yonkers. And I know when Mike was looking at this race, he saw Tattoo Artist, Post 1, 2-1 morning line favorite, and honestly, I might have to bring him back to earth too. He might be dreaming of wheelbarrows of money that have you. They can have your name on it, Mike. It's perfectly fine. I know that you see Tattoo Artist as a play against here.
Yeah, Tattoo Artist has been a play against the entire series, and I've been very adamant about that in every one of our shows, and I was right 4 out of those 5 times. And the race that he did win, he got a perfect trip whenever the horse stopped on the front. They needed a very few points to get into the final last week and couldn't manage to get those first up, and he was supposed to be the top horse in the series. Him and Lochinvar, he made almost $900,000 last year chasing Bulldog Hanover. Bulldog Hanover right here. And he's just not the same, I don't think, at a half-mile track. He hasn't started this year the way they thought. I'm against him again. I'm very much for Hemsworth. He's 10-1 morning line. He's not going to be 10-1 morning line. This morning line is, I think, very erroneous. Last week, we talked about him, and he had the 7-hole. He flew late, 26-4 on the end. He beat Lochinvar when Lochinvar was considered unbeatable on April the 3rd. He gets a decent post this time. We know he can leave and be up close. He represents a lot of value. He has some closers around him. Can he beat American Courage? Well, American Courage was, we talked to the trainer on one of our podcasts, and he said that the horse bled in that April 10th race, and they held him out last week knowing that they were going to miss the final and ended up at the consolation. They can't get him on Lasix because of the rules in New York, I guess. So they end up in here thinking he has a better chance. He's going to be over bet. I'm not sure. Can he win? Yes. Do I really want him? Not really. I want to take shots with prices. I want Hemsworth. I'll take Priceless Beach, who took a shuffle last time. I might even try None Better. I feel like he got stuck in a blind switch in his last. Dean v. Hanover. There's lots of live long shots in this race if you fade the 1 and the 4.
Yeah, Derick. It seems like Tattoo Artist, at least to me, Tattoo Artist has been much better off the pace, which would make the race probably set up for American Courage to go to the front. But off the week off the bleeding, does it seem like a short price is okay on him to go all the way around here?
I like Tattoo Artist better when let's start with Tattoo Artist. I like him better when he's on a mile track. So, and I haven't really liked any of his performances over this track, even the one when he won, he looked good, but he kind of just, blew past the horse that I thought was tired and, won the race. So to me, Tattoo Artist is a complete fade, whether he's 4-5 or 3-1, I don't want any part of him. Maybe if he was 8-1, I would take a shot with him. American Courage is the horse I'm keyed in on as my top pick here. I really don't care that, he had the Lasix issue. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, he went a gigantic mile in defeat, I thought, to finish third. That was a pretty big mile in 51 and change when he did bleed. Obviously took the extra time off. That should certainly help the cause. This horse, I'm pretty sure, was on Lasix in the past, and they had to take him off Lasix because he couldn't handle the Lasix. So whether or not he can go back on Lasix again, I don't know. But I do know that American Courage, in my opinion, on a half-mile track, is the best horse in this race. Even if he's not 100%. If you give me 85 to 90% American Courage, I'll take him against this field every day of the week. Though I will say that I respect Hemsworth, and I think he's had some bad luck from some bad posts. He's moving back inside today. He should race very well. He's a horse I want on my pick 5 ticket because he's 10-1 morning line, but I don't know if I'm running to bet him. If I can get 2-1 on American Courage or 4-1 on Hemsworth, I'll take 2-1 on American Courage all the time.
Yes, Ashley, certainly American Courage has the resume, has every reason for people to think that he could easily take this race, especially given it's a class drop as well, despite everything he's been going through. I'm curious about Hemsworth, though. Are we running the risk of this being like a wise guy horse? Because you know what happens to wise guy horses.
I think Hemsworth has kind of been a little unloved throughout the series and has raced better than people's expectations, right? I mean, you look at his off odds in his races, and when he's been he wasn't actually drawn very well, in the 5th leg of the series, but usually, his other race where he was drawn well, he raced well. He's one that I would give some love to in terms of the exotics. I feel like for me, this was the leg that I'm in, Team Derick over here with American Courage. I just think, when you look at 3 of his 4 appearances in the series, I thought they were all really good efforts. I think, when you start to look at who he finished either in front of or behind, I think he had some of the tougher of the legs each week, or the divisions, I should say. Tattoo Artist, I agree with kind of, what Mike was saying in terms of, the race that he won. I mean, he looked good, but I thought it was pretty much an easy division that he'd gotten. So when he's faced kind of the big boys in the series, he hasn't fared well. So for me, it's American Courage. I'll say Nandolo has been really disappointing, but I'll make the case that I think this horse looks better on the big track as well. I don't think this horse has really impressed me on the half mile. He's the type that's kind of picking up the pieces late at Yonkers, but he's not doing enough. And the only other horse, I talk about not being fans of horses, just with the way None Better has been racing so far this year. I'm curious to see how None Better will do later in kind of the year, because he obviously ended his 9-year-old season with big efforts, but he's just not been good enough in my opinion. So for that reason, kind of looking at it, I'm American Courage. If I were to use another horse, it would be Hemsworth.
And this race is tricky too, because you have two Travis Alexander horses, American Courage, None Better to the outside. None Better likes to leave. He has George Brennan driving him, Mike. It's like this race is otherwise loaded with horses that like to hold up and wait to make their move. It seems like the case for American Courage to just go all the way around and not get challenged is more likely than it's setting up for a horse like Nandolo to have the pieces fall apart, or Hemsworth to have the pieces fall apart, Priceless Beach to have the pieces fall apart, right?
Well, I mean, there's other horses that can leave, and especially the outside three. Under the Southern Sun has been known to be able to pop the gate. Dean B. Hanover has shown speed the whole series. None Better. We talked to Travis Alexander. He said that they were going in that fifth leg. That didn't end up happening. He ended up second over, and then he got stuck in a blind switch. When Covered Bridge came calling, and he just couldn't match him late. I thought he raced fine in there, but he wants to be up front. And Brennan on him now. He could fly early. I'm not sure what the instructions will be as far as with American Courage in the race. I'm sure they don't want to get into each other and kind of rip each other apart and set it up for everybody else. So that's the problem.
Yeah, certainly tricky. I'm of agreement, though. American Courage, one of the horses to beat in here. I don't know what price Hemsworth is in this race realistically, because a lot of it also depends on how heavily they bet Tattoo Artist and even American Courage. Are we really looking at Hemsworth being the third choice here?
He probably will be. He has to be.
Well, he doesn't have to. He can be anything he wants. It might just.
Well, he doesn't get to decide. He doesn't get to decide. Guys like me get to decide what odds he's going to be, and he's going to be third choice.
There you go.
Derick playing with a big enough bankroll to influence said factors. Those are all the consolations. Blue Chip Matchmaker consolations. Put away. Borgata consolations. We're going to fold up and kind of tuck in here. We're going to move on to the first of two finals. We're going into six-figure territory. Warning everybody, this can be dangerous. $328,000 Blue Chip Matchmaker Final. Race number 8, Monday evening at Yonkers. 8 going postward, with the main factors all drawing inside, Ashley. Amazing Dream, stalwart in the series, post 1. Racine Bell, Star Mare at 4, 5, and 6, doing well in the series, post 2. Up and coming import Doug's Babe off 3 straight wins, post 3. How does anyone to the outside of them stand a chance here?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, you look at some of the other horses. Some of them have gate speed. Others are kind of the closers. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. The best 3 drew the inside 3 here, right? And I think for me, you can look at the morning line and look at 5-2, 2-1, and 5-1. I really like Doug's Babe in this race. You mentioned, kind of a more recent import coming over from down under, I should say. And the last 3 races have been wins. They've been different trips every time. And she seems like she's just, has that versatility. I thought she raced really well. And I think the most recent in that fifth leg was by far her best. I mean, you can look at it from a times perspective and just the way that she raced. It was very impressive. Now, she has the 2 other big ones drawn to her inside, but I still think she's tactical enough here from off the gate to get a good position. Racine Bell, Amazing Dream. If I had to pick one of the others, I'm Amazing Dream. I just really haven't been a huge fan of some of these performances from Racine Bell, where I thought she should have won. But this is a race where probably going to use maybe 2 horses in here. And to me, Doug's Babe's number 1 and second choice would be Amazing Dream.
Derick, this race does set up interestingly with Amazing Dream having post 1 along with Yannick Gingras. While Doug's Babe, granted, she hasn't had to be on the lead to win, can be on the lead, can win that way. How does this race set up to you?
Well, I think the X factor in this race is drama act. I mean, it really comes down to how hard is George Brennan going to send Drama Act? Because, he's probably not going to want to close from the back of the pack. I mean, he usually has her near the lead almost every single start. I think if he guns hard, that hurts Racing Bell the most, in my opinion. Because if he doesn't gun hard, then I think Amazing Dream and Racing Bell are going to come out really hard and they're going to sit 1-2. I don't see Doug's Babe gunning out of there. I think that Dexter Dunn is really confident in his horse. I think he feels like he can come first over with this horse and win. I think this horse is just getting better and better every single start. She would definitely be my top pick. Amazing Dream, definitely the horse to beat in my opinion. And the favorite, I think she will definitely be on the lead in this race. Whether or not she leaves and has the lead or she lets someone else go and retakes, I think Yannick will put her on the lead. I think Lucky Artist is an interesting horse. If Lucky Artist gets overlooked in the wagering, I mean, she's been darn good. I mean, start after start after start. I had a long talk with Braxton Boyd about the horse, and he says she's not really a sprinter. So she kind of takes her time. She can go all day and she could grind it out, but she can't sprint. So that worries me. If she's sitting second over and Lit the Rose is third over, can Lit the Rose sprint by her? And best her. So I don't know. I'm a little worried on that end. So does Braxton leave with this horse just figuring that, she needs to be, close to the pace? I think this is a very interesting race. And to me, I mean, most people maybe think I'm crazy. I think it's a more interesting race than the Borgata Final in terms of, trips and how they might work out.
Well, you say Drama Act is an X factor in the pace. There's a part of me that feels like a lot of her best racing has been on the lead. She has to go. She has to leave.
The key is not whether she'll leave. The key is whether she can get the top. I mean, because Amazing Dream has speed. Racing Bell, there's no horse in this race that's faster than Racing Bell off the gate. Whether or not Jason Bartlett will decide to go with her is another question. I had asked him after the last preliminary leg, I'm like, how come you didn't leave? He's like, you know what? I felt like they were going to go fast enough and I could just sit and relax. But even when she came, tried to make her move late in the mile, you could see it wasn't like an immediate spurt where she just, gunned towards the front. She kind of was like in mud going around the final turn. And then in the stretch, she just wore them down because she's very classy.
Certainly, Mike, if there's any kind of pace set up in this race, that plays to the disadvantage of Amazing Dream, I feel like, because her game is going to be going towards the front. But then at the same time, I have a hard time envisioning who picks up the pieces. Like Lita Rose could swoop by everyone, but that seems like a lofty proposition.
She could, but doesn't Doug's Babe have to get the jump on her early? I mean, it's probably going to end up being a driver's race. Like Derick said, with Drama Act, she is the key to the race. She can inject a bunch of pace into it. She could cause early moves that lead to a quicker pace than all the others want to go. And then as soon as it does get quick, others start to get nervous. They start to, pull early. In a driver's race, I do want Dexter. I want Doug's Babe in the race because I don't think we know what she is yet, right? You're betting her more on the come. I mean, the 1 and the 2 have both won over $1 million. I mean, Drama Act has made almost 900,000. We know what they are, but this horse here, she's 6 years old, but this is as good as she's ever been. She's obviously proven she's capable versus these horses. She's going to get whatever trip that she wants here. I don't think that she's going to be up front. She's not going to face that pressure. So when it becomes those top 3 hooking up, who gets the trip from behind? And I think she's going to get the first chance. Now, if she's not good enough, that's another story. But Amazing Dream has proven that she's probably the best horse in the race right now. But she had a couple nice pocket trips to win. She did lose last time, missed a week. Yannick, is going to be aggressive. I think it could get nuclear up front. I want Doug's Babe. I would use Lita Rose because that she's a solid closer. She's going to be any kind of price in the race with Pat LaChance driving. She's another one that's capable. She's won a lot of money too. And that sort of trips, suits her. I want to cover that scenario. As far as Lucky Artist goes, Derick, I think she has to get lost in the betting. If you look back on April 7th, she's 14-1 against Doug's Babe and Amazing Dream. she's got to be some over 10-1 in the race.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if she was a big price, and she has a legitimate chance in here. You know, I'm not saying she's the horse to beat in here, but she has a legitimate chance if the race goes somewhat away. If Drama Act guns to the front and she doesn't go, and Doug Babe's first over and Lucky Artist is second over, there's no reason why Lucky Artist can't win this race.
Are you using Drama Act at all on any ticket, though? I mean, do you really think there's any scenario she wins?
I just don't see a way where, I mean, best case scenario for Drama Act is she guns to the front, gets there easy, Amazing Dream retakes, and she sits the pocket. But you know, they're going for 328,000. I don't see Yannick drifting off the rail under any circumstances to let someone go if he thinks he has a shot at getting a big check.
And so then with the Lucky Artist scenario, this is an interesting point to talk about because this horse will get lost in the betting, absolutely. If you were to think about making a bet on this horse, Derick, what would be the odds you would be looking for on a long shot like Lucky Artist in this seemingly 2-horse race?
First of all, I couldn't call this a 2-horse race under any circumstances. But
is that between Doug's Babe and Amazing Dream?
No, I think Racine Bell has a huge shot. Lucky Artist has a decent shot of winning the race, and I'd say Lit the Rosa Drama Act could win under the perfect circumstances. So I would say it's a legitimate 4-horse race, and with 2 other horses that, you know, could possibly surprise. It's 8-1. Really? 8-1 or higher.
You'll get it.
That was my guess. That was my guess. My number in my head was 8-1. I feel like that's a very nice price to take.
I would need 15 to 1. I'd get 15 to 1 too, most likely, in this spot. Anything to say about, in case you didn't know, Karma Sealster on the outside? We've talked about every horse but these two.
In case you didn't know, post 7 and 8 are very hard to win from, and these 2 horses may not be up to the task.
And so I give this piece of watermelon to you.
For what?
As sacrifice. Pittance, patronage, whatever you would like to call it. That's the Blue Chip Matchmaker. For me, I'm on the camp of Amazing Dream, Doug's Babe, simply because the paths to victory seem most optimal for those two, based on how the race sets up in my beautiful little brain. Might not be how it sets up in Derick's busy street-laden brain, or Mike's baseball cap, usually bucket hat covered brain, or
I'm wearing the bulldog hat.
Are you brunette?
Yes, that's brown hair. Good job, Ray.
Brunette covered brain. That's the Blue Chip Matchmaker. We move on then to our featured presentation, Race 9, $511,000. The MGM Borgata Series.
Right, I feel like you need some more things with antioxidants to help your brain power or something. Some berries or something instead of your watermelon over there.
I have this empty bottle of coconut water.
Yeah, that's not going to do it.
So I doubt there's anything in the cardboard either.
Are there vitamins in the background? What are those vitamins? I see a bunch of pills.
So I have many pills. I have ibuprofen, but joke's on you. Inside the it's actually ibuprofen in here. I thought it was something else. I thought it was cough medicine. This is bioplasma, so it's like when you go work out and then you run out of plasma because you sweat too much. You just kind of inject this and then you build more. This is deodorant, which I'm just gonna kind of.
Did we need a desk inventory?
And is that a PS5? PS5?
Oh, I wish. It's actually Xbox One. I use it to play all of my favorite Gallop racers from 2002 through 2005, and then any game where I can carjack. Which, depending on how this night goes, I may be launching the games up, and I might be out of bullets for the Borgata. I hope not, because this race, especially in the pick 5, is an interesting race. Sure, this is the plan post 2. probably the favorite, won this race 2 years ago, did so just with a little merry-go-round from post 8. No one challenged him. Probably doesn't happen this time around, though. He has to take play, especially since the early favorite in the series, Lochinvar Art, comes in off of 2 regressing miles, draws a bad post with post 7. You have last year's winner, Fun at the Beach, again, drawing outside off a defeat, granted just by a head. He's, for some reason, 20-1 in the morning line. The best horse in the series, debatably, Backstreet Shadow, lands the worst post at Yonkers Raceway to ever exist. Post 8, actually, post 9 might be worse somehow. And then to the inside, you have horses like Covered Bridge, who finally got some luck late in the series with draws and utilized it to his advantage. Ideal Some Magic, who's been just getting better and better and better with each start. Mike, there's so many different ways that you can go here and where you could possibly beat the favorite.
Yeah, I can't wait for this race, actually, because I like prices, and I think there's been 3 main horses in this series that have kind of separated themselves, and that's Ideal Some Magic, Fun at the Beach, and Backstreet Shadow. I really do believe that they are the best horses in here. I'm not sure that the trips are going to matter necessarily. I feel like that they're, I realize that the 2 of those horses are drawn outside, but I just think it helps their prices. Backstreet Shadow really, he sat back in leg 5, knowing he's making the final, had an outside post, and flew 26-2 under an absolute stranglehold without even being asked to go. And he was, flying late. I realize that he needs help here from this post, but he's the best horse. And I do think that there is going to be some pace in the race with Ideal Some Magic drawn inside. I think he's going to go with this is the plan early. I think there's going to be some other horses like Leonidas that are moving early. Hullabaloo is another horse that likes to race up front. Give me Fun at the Beach. Give me Backstreet Shadow coming from the back, fighting it out. These 2 horses are going to play much better in multis because of their morning lines. I feel like that this race has a big potential to pay more than it should with the best horses winning.
I had to posterize whatever you just said there. It might not show here, but I like prices. I think is a t-shirt idea that we're going to talk about at the next meeting.
I like that.
Derick, I don't know if you're one to like prices.
I do like prices.
You do like prices. You like $9.99? Is that a good price?
If you're playing horse racing, thoroughbred, harness, quarter horse, Arabians, I don't care which one. If you don't like prices, then you probably shouldn't be playing horses.
I mean, every price their own, right? For instance, I hear $19.95, I get disgusted, but it's because I think of all of the toys as a kid I couldn't get and all the Nerf guns that my parents wouldn't buy me on TV. But do you see
that was probably wise? You shouldn't have any guns.
They were little, like the little pew pew rubber guns, the little dart things. Your kids would love them, Mike. But actually, no, they have gel guns now that shoot little gel pellets. Derick. Yes. $19.95 sounds like an attainable price here if you can find the right horse. Because, for instance, Backstreet Shadow, if he wins, you're getting way more than that. You could get $40-$50 if this horse wins, and he's the best horse in the race, drawing the worst. But there has to be some kind of scenario where he can win at a great price, right?
I think. Listen, he's the best horse in. Let me back that up a second. He's the sharpest horse in the race right now, but he's also, has the biggest obstacle to overcome, being in post 8 without any early speed in a race where I quite frankly don't see a ton of early speed. I mean, I think this is the plan is 100% going to leave. I think Covered Bridge will probably leave. Other than that, I mean, Hullabaloo. Yeah, Hullabaloo is the most likely of the other horses, I think, to leave. I think Ideal Some Magic is not leaving the gate. I've watched him race throughout the series. He has looked so much better racing off a helmet. If I was George Brennan, there's no way I would leave. Granted, George has run a few more races than me, 9, 10,000, maybe something like that. Leonidas has been racing on the lead and getting caught, so maybe they tried to change, tactics there. I mean, So it's like, how does Backstreet Shadow get into the race? That's my one issue here. He's a horse that I respect. I think he can win. I'm just not sure how he can win.
Ashley, even though this is the plan, appears to be the lone speed, they just let him go 2 years ago. There's no way they could just let him do that again.
No, I don't think so. I think Derick kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, Hullabaloo to me is the one that could, make things a little bit more dicey for, this is the plan on the lead. Just looking at the way he raced, especially early on in the series and looking at those efforts. I mean, I know he's kind of digressed and backtracked in his last two, but Joe Bongiorno is going to, get the drive here because Yannick goes to this is the plan. And I just think Joe, picking up the drive here is probably going to be more aggressive, just looking at this horse's kind of style. You look at here and I agree. I mean, Backstreet Shadow has been fabulous, and so has Ideal Some Magic. I mean, Fun at the Beach has too, but I'm just talking about when I look at horses from a physical angle, these two have been very impressive. But physically, I think Ideal Some Magic is the best horse in terms of when we see him warm up on track and his professionalism. And I spoke to Corey Stratton just a couple weeks ago, and it's very obvious that they love this horse and they've been very impressed with him. And he's just been every week he's been good. There was the driver change. They get Brennan because Jordan already committed to Fun at the Beach. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic there. But to see how he raced in the last kind of leg of the series, I thought he was phenomenal. Backstreet Shadow has been tremendous, but the draws have not been kind to him. I don't think he's impossible. And as Mike and Derick have said, I mean, he's been extremely impressive. And of course, there's probably a situation where he could get the job done. He's one that I love him so much and have been so impressed with him, and I'm curious to see how he, kind of trends the rest of 2023. But he's like the one horse that I'm like, do I use him at pick 5? Do I not? Because I'm just kind of on the fence with the draw. But I would say someone's going to try to go with this as the plan, and my guess would be Hullabaloo.
Which would certainly be interesting because this is the plan. Ron Burke. Hullabaloo. Ron Burke. And Hullabaloo has shown the ability to leave off the gate. I will say in the last couple of weeks, it seems like he hasn't had as strong a foot off the car as he usually does for whatever reason. I can make up a million reasons, and I could take up all of your time until there is none left. But we also have the fact that there are tons of horses here that are great pressers. Leonidas can press. Fun at the Beach, when he won first over 3 weeks ago, that was a mighty mile he went. And all those factors, even with Backstreet Shadow, we know, and he knows how he has to race. So even if he gets away last, it takes one guy to pull to make someone make a rash decision they might not want to, because it's a $500,000 race. They have to get into it somehow. To me, everything sets up to be at the disadvantage of this is the plan. And he's going to be, what is 8-5 too high of an expectation? Do we think he's going to be lower than that in this race?
He'll be higher than that. He won't be.
It's too competitive to see him lower, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be the 1 in 100 race at Yonkers Raceway where you see a horse 3 wide, past the 5/8 coming down the backstretch. I think this could be the rare race where you actually see that happen, because they might need to get themselves involved. And it really, I mean, you have a lot of horses that have to, a lot of drivers that have to make decisions. Brennan, Siegelman, I think Bongiorno is going to leave with Hullabaloo, unless both Brennan and Siegelman leave inside of him. So I think, Brennan and Siegelman have to decide. I think Tyler Buda has an interesting decision here. Remember the 1 and 6 are, owned by the same guy, trained by the same guy. Does Tyler Buda push out as hard as he can to try to, also win for himself, but also set up a good pace for Fun at the Beach? Does Tyler Buda, another smart move could be for him to just take back hard from the rail, let This Is the Plan go, let Hullabaloo go, let Ideal Some Magic go, and come away like 4th or 5th where you can get live cover. I've been really, and I'm not a Covered Bridge fan. I didn't like him coming into this series, but he's really impressed me his last couple of miles. I'm not really concerned with who he's beating, more with how he looks. And he's looked like a horse that is ready to win this final. And I think I'm going to get a reasonable price on him. I think this is the plan. Will be somewhere in the 2-1, 5-2 range as the favorite. And maybe I get 5, 6, 7-1 on Covered Bridge. And, you know, I don't know. It's a wide open race. I don't think Hullabaloo can win. I don't particularly like Lochinvar Art's chances, but any of the other horses, if they won, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, that's the horse we haven't really talked about is Lochinvar Art, who has been, you know, taking all the money. Look down the page. Every week that he made the appearance. I know they skipped a week, right? And they had the ability to do so just with how well he raced early in the series. But I think Lochinvar Art to the inside of Backstreet Shadow is almost a bit of a hindrance to Backstreet Shadow, because I don't think you can look at Lochinvar Art, and if you don't look at the times and the way he's raced, you'd say, oh, he's got gate speed. I don't think he's got the best chances of racing his race going off the gate, which I think hinders Backstreet Shadow a bit in this spot. And the reason I say that is just looking at Lochinvar Art. I know he's been able to kind of take these horses all the way around on the lead, but look at the fractions that he was rattling off early compared to what other horses have been able to do and at least sustain to finish in the money. I think he's a bit, you know, puts himself in a better spot if he's able to just sit. And like I said, I think that's kind of my concern with Lochinvar Art in here is I don't think he can win in this race, especially with the way he's drawn. But I think he hurts Backstreet Shadow in this case.
Well, yeah, from this spot, it seems like he has to try and come from off the speed, and it also doesn't seem like he seems like more of a fighter than a sprinter. When he has horses alongside him, he's able to fight and stay focused, but he doesn't have the same turn of gear that like a Backstreet Shadow does, even a Fun at the Beach does, or Ideal Some Magic, and that makes it even more difficult for this guy to get into the race. The one race we saw him win from off the pace was a 28-2 final quarter in the slop.
But remember that race, though. Everyone was salivating over him after that race, and that was when he had won 5 in a row, and everybody on Twitter's going crazy. Oh, this is the greatest horse, you know, that there has been. And then all of a sudden, he loses the week after at 1-9, whenever he was supposed to win, and he was drawn in the lesser divisions every single week. He takes a week off. Now, if you want a price, you're going to get all you want.
Yeah, certainly. He's the greatest horse to ever live, circa 3 weeks ago.
But he's still talented. I'm still curious to see when he goes from the half mile to the mile, what he's able to do. And again, you know, we can talk about the series and the hard nature of it, right? Those 5 weeks in a row. But I agree. I mean, you know, Mike kind of hit the nail on the head. We all were excited about how he raced, but look at how he's kind of been in the series compared to Backstreet Shadow, Ideal Some Magic, and those types. And it makes you kind of think a little bit different about the race as a whole.
And plus, if I remember correctly, he skipped week 4 because of some sickness and then came back. Honestly, post 1 might not have been the best because he's not super quick off the gate. And so it stymies him even more from this spot. All things considered, price-wise here, I have a hard time figuring out. This is the plan, 8-5 favorite. Maybe I can get that. I don't know what price anyone else is here. I don't think Ideal Some Magic is 6-1. This horse has to be the third choice. Leonidas seems like one that gets lost in the betting. I'd be amazed. Fun at the Beach won this race last year is 20-1 after being nearly the even money choice in his last 2 starts. It seems like one of those races where you realistically have 2 or 4 horses that are between 4 and 8-1, right?
There's going to be a lot of money for a lot of different horses here. And the morning lines, the fact that they're 20-1 in the 6 and the 8, people flock to those kind of things. But bad morning lines is one of the biggest underlays that you get a lot of times because people say, well, that horse should never be 20-1, and money finds them because of that reason. Everybody has their horses that they like here. You're going to have your Bark money come, your I Did Some Magic money come. The Lochinvar money is still going to come. I mean, the horse has been 2-5, 1-9 every week. There are some people that are going to keep the faith in this horse. Now, he's not going to be anywhere near that, but he'll be sub 10-1 in the race. And I don't see how Fun at the Beach and Backstreet Shadow can not take money just as well as they've raced. There's too many smart people that are going to find these horses.
Smart people like the ones watching this right now and listening to this, maybe watching and listening. If you're doing that, round of applause. All of these different angles and possibilities are why I feel this race is the key to the pick 5. which we'll kind of go through to round the round table discussion. I think that's why they call it a round table now that I think about it. With all the different ways you can go, and with a favorite as likely as this is the plan, who seems at a disadvantage, at least in my own eyes, in a race like this, it seems like there's plenty of value in the surrounding possibilities. Even if Covered Bridge is the second choice, Ideal Some Magic is 6-1 for whatever reason. And so my way of going about this ticket is to try and spread to the end, but then you gotta figure out how to navigate through the other legs. And so, Ashley, I'll start with you, because I think you take a similar approach, don't you? Here that
yeah, completely. I think you spread later on, and I think it obviously depends on your ticket structure and your appetite in terms of budget. I've still been fiddling with this ticket, and I will fiddle with this ticket until about 5 p.m. on Monday night. One of the questions I have is in terms of the opening. Do I single or do I go too deep here? Just in terms of, what I want to do. I think Delightful Catherine's my top pick, but Maybelline obviously scares me for very logical reasons. From there, race 6, I don't like Jack's Legend, and I'm not going to use him here. I'm just going to use American Dealer and Splash Brother. I think American Dealer, to me, could really maybe get a little bit of an upset in that race. Race number 7, kind of looking at the consolation, the second consolation, I'm just going to single American Courage. I'm like Derick. Derick and I think are going to be kind of dumping our money on this horse. I make a case for Hemsworth, but I'm going to single American Courage there. And the 8th, I mentioned Doug's Babe, top pick, but I also like Amazing Dream. I think they're both must use. And then from there, obviously I don't have a hefty ticket at this point, so I have the ability to use a couple horses. Ideal Some Magic I'll definitely use. Fun at the Beach. This is the plan. I just feel like I don't know, going to be a short price, but obviously the advantage is the gate speed, and the one that I can't figure out what to do is Backstreet Shadow. I'm really on the fence with him because I think he is tremendously talented, has so much talent, but the post is a bit of a concern for me. So I'm looking at a pretty light ticket overall, but I agree. I think the Borgata, in my opinion, is the race to spread. And I know someone mentioned it, I forgot, not a huge Covered Bridge fan. I really haven't been either, but he has raced very well those last two legs of the series. So he's one that you can maybe use. I wish I had that insight to know what odds he's going to be, because if he's short odds, he's a horse that I wouldn't take here.
You're talking to two of the presidents of the Covered Bridge fan club, Mike Pribozie and myself. Every week we watch this horse and we went, oh my God, can this horse get a good draw? He doesn't get a good draw. My God, can he get a good draw? He doesn't get a good one again. But Mike, even if Backstreet Shadow doesn't stand a great chance to win the race, you have a post 8 horse that you can realistically defend. Why not just try and be live to him?
Absolutely need to be live to him. I think you need to be live to 3 horses. Ideal Some Magic, Fun at the Beach, Backstreet Shadow. One of those 3, I think, win this final. They're all not going to be favored. They're all going to be prices. I need to get myself live to those 3. If I would be, I'd be quite pleased.
Well, then, if that's how you want to land, how do you get to that destination?
I would play a couple tickets, I think. I like Delightful Catherine in the first leg. I might back up with Jazz Surreal just for mental purposes in case she decides she's going to show up, and I would hate to have her beat me. So I'm going to have her on probably a smaller ticket. I think Maybelline is worth using on tickets, but I would lean on Delightful Catherine in that first leg. The second race, I'm more interested in B2B, Splash Brother, and Another Masterpiece. I think it's one of those 3. I'm definitely against Jack's Legend. I could get knocked out here, but I'm comfortable with those 3 horses in the second. Against Tattoo Artist in the 7th race, heavy on Hemsworth. A lot of tickets running through there. Use some other horses though, like his B's, like Priceless Beach. I'd use American Courage just because I do agree with Derick that he is the best horse in the race, especially on a half-mile track. I would use horses like Dean B. Hanover and None Better though, like in a spread leg. I think that those horses are worth having. In the 8th, I like Doug's Babe a lot. I think that she is the most likely winner. I would probably back up with Amazing Dream there. And maybe use a little bit of Lita Rose. I think you probably need her on a slimmer ticket, especially she's 20-1 morning line. She's going to blow up that pick 5. And if I don't have her, and then You get Backstreet Shadow in the last. It could pay anything. I mean, it's 5 figures probably.
All right, so that was Mike's smorgasbord of pick 5 horses.
Not that hard.
I lost the 6s from the 9s to the 12s and the 5s. Derick, I hope that you can have something for me to follow, something for my measly brain to stay attracted to.
We'll try to dumb it down for you a little bit.
Thank you.
First leg, I think Delightful Catherine's the one to beat. I'm going to use Maybelline, so I would, definitely. I'm going to use both on my ticket, but I'm going to have a second ticket with Delightful Catherine certainly. The 6th race, I like Jack's Legend and Splash Brother. To me, if you're going to use, I'm trying to think about this on the fly. If you're going to use the 1 and the 4, Delightful Catherine and Maybelline, right, on a second ticket, I think you want to just key in on Splash Brother and not use Jack's Legend. That's just my thought. I could be wrong there, but I'm looking at Splash Brother and Jack's Legend. Race 7, I'm looking at American Courage as definitely my A, and Hemsworth as a kind of a B play because of the 10-1 morning line. Maybe there's some value there. Because I'm completely fading Tattoo Artist, and I got to assume Tattoo Artist is going to have at least a third of the money in that pick 5 pool. So we're going to wipe away a lot of money just by not using that one. The Matchmaker, I'm looking at Amazing Dream, Doug's Babe, Unlucky Artist. Not that Racing Bell, Lit the Rose couldn't win, but those are the ones I think have, the best form, the best chance to work out the right trip to win the race. And in the last leg, Cover Bridge is my top pick. I think this is the plan, has to be on your tickets. I mean, for me, he projects to get the best trip. And although I think they're up against it, Fun at the Beach and Backstreet Shadow, I think you're to bypass, if those 2 horses were going to be like 4-1 and 5-1, I wouldn't have them on my ticket at all, because I think it's going to be very hard for them to win. They're both 20-1 morning line. In my mind, I see them going off somewhere between 10 and 15-1, somewhere in that range. And to me, you have 2 of the best horses in the series going off at big prices in a pick 5 sequence. You'd be foolish not to include them. And you'll notice the one I don't use is Ideal Some Magic. And the reason why I'm not using Ideal Some Magic is, for me, the trip doesn't project as well for that particular horse in my mind. And I think Ideal Some Magic is going to be the second choice in the pick 5 and in the race. And it doesn't make sense for me to use a horse that I'm not in love with at what's not going to be a good price.
Certainly okay, Derick. You can be wrong there. The obvious toss is this is the plan from that race because he's going to be the favorite and he's going to get pressed and he's not going to like it. And you're going to see him spit during the race, I bet. You're going to see a little whoop.
I've been doing this a long time, Ray. Long time. And
how long? Tell me. I got all day here.
Okay. I feel like every single year, right, I discuss this Borgata final with some people, and we always say, well, this one's going to leave, and this one's going to leave, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and then some horse goes right to the front and wins easy. So I'm just saying that sometimes the way it looks on paper is what ends up happening. That doesn't mean this is the point is going to win, but on paper, he projects to get a pretty darn good trip.
I think there are 511,000 reasons as to why it's going to be more difficult for This Is the Plan this time around than when he had post 8 and everyone went, he doesn't have the balls to leave from there. And then maybe he didn't, but he still left. Everyone went, oh, he showed us. They're not going to let him do that again. I'm not going to take that short price on my ticket. I mean,
he's a gelding, so he probably doesn't have him, but.
Thank you for paying attention to my language. I start the ticket trying to single on a chalk with Delightful Catherine. I don't think you can take both, although I will say, Derick, not only is it your opinion to go to Splash Brother if you're going to take both of them, it's also a mathematically correct way because you're going to get a better price on Splash Brother than you would Jack's Legend. I want to applaud you on the EV thought you put there. That's positive expected value. That said, I do use Splash Brother. I don't use Jack's Legend. Jack's Legend, absolute toss. This is This is Jack's Legend to me right now. I'm sorry. He's an okay horse, but I want nothing to do with him. The horse is going to be low price. I feel incredibly beatable. And those are the two feelings that you want to join in marriage when it comes to wanting to hit a pick 5 for at least $1,000, which I need to at some point. That said, I take Rockin' with Elvis, Splash Brother, another masterpiece in that second leg. So I'm 1 with 4, 5, 7. Leg 3, I go to Hemsworth the 3, American Courage the 4. To me, it's one of those two most likely winners of that race. Better price being on Hemsworth. Race 8, excuse me, fourth leg. I do go too deep. I take Amazing Dream, Doug's Babe. Seems like to me that, again, the race most likely goes to one of those two just based off the form they've had, based off the trips that they've been going. And even with Doug's Babe, as Mike mentioned earlier in the show, we don't really know her ceiling yet. And this could be the race where she demonstrates a higher potential. Maybe not. Final leg then, being that skinny, I spread. Covered Bridge, Ideal Some Magic, Leonidas, ooh, Fun at the Beach, and Backstreet Shadow. We're going 5 deep in that last leg of the pick 5. So my ticket then, as numbers, because I have numbers and everyone else has words, I have 1 with 4, 5, 7, with 3, 4, with 1, 3, with 1, 3, 4, 6, 8. That's a $30 play, 4.50 cents. That said, unless anyone has any final grievances to share with the class this evening, I think we're adjourned. No grievances? This is a first if there's no grievances with me. Nothing?
No, you've done a wonderful job, Ray.
Oh, well. I wasn't
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
I wasn't prepared for shining.
Other than the
Brilliant.
banner over Ashley's head the whole time.
It was great though. You couldn't see my facial expressions. You don't know what I was thinking when you guys were talking about your horses, you know?
Oh, I didn't know the banner went over. It wasn't going.
Perfect. I just sat like this. I was like making some faces, no eyebrows though.
It wasn't going over on my feed. This is my first time running on StreamYard. I'm used to devices that cost $50,000 and not $995 a month, and so it's a bit of a learning curve on this other architecture. But that said, even if we couldn't see Ashley's face or even Derick's pecs, thank you both, and thank you, Mike, for joining on this discussion of the Borgata Series Finals, Blue Chip Matchmaker Finals, those consolations on this episode of the Harness Players Podcast. Final wrap. Time for everyone to share everything that they do and why, in the first place, all of our opinions matter. We build ethos at the end of an hour-long discussion so that people go, oh, that's why I was listening. Mike Pribozie, what have you got going on in harness racing?
Just go to NahooPicks.com. Check out all the plays. We have lots of tracks going now. Meadowlands. I do Mohawk, Western Fair, Meadows. It's basically almost every track we got going. Hoosier Park play of the day. I just want to thank everybody. This podcast series has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys coming on, doing the roundtable with us, and we got a lot of new podcasts coming up too this summer. Got some Meadows, Hoosier, Meadowlands, lots of stuff ahead. So stay with us.
Excellent, Derick. I believe you have something that's with the daily racing form.
Yeah, drf.com/harness. You can check out all the content, or you could go to drf.com and just click on the harness button in the top menu bar.
They added that now.
Yes, and
they did. I saw it.
Take you right to the homepage. We've actually changed the whole menu system throughout the whole harness, atmosphere. So whatever article you click on, you could actually get back to the harness content. The harness menu bars in the top. So we've advanced into 2023. I don't know. Anyway, drf.com/harness. Check out it all. Everything we have. Matt Rose did Monday night selections for Yonkers Raceway. So you have the full card there. We also have full card analysis from Burnett Barnsdale for Woodbine Mohawk all the time, and a whole bunch of other good harness content, and the newsletter, DRF Harness Digest. Definitely want to check that out because the guy above me does some writing for it, and me too.
Yeah, and so far you haven't tossed me yet, which, well, it'll come sometime soon. So drf.com/harness, now with navigation. That's a big thing. Navigation is something I know you need, Ashley, because one day I wake up and on Twitter I see you're in Arkansas, then the next you're in California, and you're going all over the place.
Yeah, and I'm on the dark side of DRF. I'm not on the harness side, but if you go to their social media, you may see me. Derick hasn't recruited me for the harness stuff, probably, which is a good thing. But no, I'm just kind of been all over the place and freelancing a bunch in my free time, which has been a lot of fun. You mentioned Arkansas. I was just there just about a week ago and had a great time at Oaklawn, and I have a couple other things coming up. So I don't know. You just got to turn on your phone or your TV, and maybe I'll pop up somewhere.
And as for me, I don't know. I got some watermelon. I made a movie. It's called Make the Best of It. You can find, if you just Google me, you'll find a lot of information about me. All stuff that's true, maybe some that's not. I should probably figure out which one's not. I'm at Oak Grove Racing in Kentucky. We race 2 days a week, Sundays, Mondays through July 4th. We add Tuesdays in late May. I'm the on-air guy there now, if you can believe it. I tried to
hopefully not eating.
No, they feed me proper meals inside the Churchill Downs bunker, a multi-million-dollar facility, by the way, that they built specifically for me to stream Oak Grove Racing from Oak Grove, Kentucky. Huge buffets, every kind of egg I can imagine: duck, quail, chicken, chicken, which I believe is a French chicken. All of them in omelets, anything I could eat. Oak Grove, I'm there. I have freehold dates. I'm a track announcer. I'm at Freehold next May 12th, 13th, 19th, 20th, and I don't know.
And you like prices?
I do. It's thanks to Mike.
Watch these races Monday. Watch them.
And so, yeah, you'll want to watch these races. First race post time at Yonkers, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
7 o'clock.
I don't. Did I say 7?
7 p.m.
Wait,
7:15. You don't want these people.
You'll miss the first if you do that.
I'm living. Wasn't it 7:15 for many years?
It's not. The last post time was 6:55. Before this current 7 o'clock, it was 6:55, and then maybe before that it was 7:15, and before that it was 7:30, and before that it was 8 o'clock. But right now it's 7 o'clock.
Man,
Eastern Daylight Time.
By you describing that, it sounds like you've been doing this for many years. I must still be on Rosecroft time, because I was at Rosecroft on Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I should go eat my watermelon.
March, April. 26 and a half years.
Until when?
That's how long I've been doing this. 26
Oh,
and a half
I don't
years.
think you look a day over 15. Thank you for tuning in to this discussion. The Blue Chip Matchmaker, MGM Borgata Series Finals and Consolations from the Harness Players Podcast within the Money Media. I've been Ray Cotolo. He's Mike Pribozie, Derick Giwner, and I can't figure this one out. Ashley, that's the best I can get to Ashley Mailloux. 7 p.m. post time, Yonkers. Races 5 through 9 is the stakes action on Monday, April 24th, 2023. And we hope, if anything, in this long-winded discussion, whether you listen to us or not, you made a couple dollars. Thank you for tuning in. And until the next In the Money production, I just ran over some watermelon. Oh, dang it.